Took one for the team.
Told you my daughter came in here with me on a Sunday because I left my iPad here, and she was real impressed with all the candy that was in the drawer. Oh, you get candy in the drawers?
I've been joking.
I think it was stocked on Saturday, so maybe your daughter took it.
Well, this was like a few Sundays ago.
Yeah, it's all done on, most of it's.
We'll find out what
done
happened to it.
Online, yeah, Zoom.
What board met here?
Oh, it's in
like
Hillsborough.
Oh, okay.
So I got nothing to do with Pinellas, it's all Hillsborough.
Always the board.
Very much. Very cool.
Everyone ready? All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City Commission meeting of Monday, February 17th, President's Day. At this time, I would like to call Pastor Dan Harrington from Countryside Baptist Church, so please come forward to lead us in the invocation. So if everyone would please stand up and then remain standing for the pledge to the flag.
Let us pray. Father, we're thankful not for this being here at the City Commission meeting, but Lord, we're here because of the freedoms that you have provided us here in the United States of America. Lord, and as we celebrate President's Day and the 49 presidents we have had throughout our history, we are thankful for the freedom that not just these men have provided us, but all of the men and women that have sacrificed their lives for our freedom. Help us to never take that for granted. And Lord, we are here today because of what they have provided us. So be with us as we speak. Be with, again, our elected leaders as they govern, realizing it is a very difficult job. We are thankful for them each and every day here in this great city of Safety Harbor. And Lord, I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, Pastor. All right, I missed it. So we don't have a presentation portion of the meeting tonight, so we're just going to hop right into audience to be heard. So if there's anyone here tonight that wants to be heard on an item that's not on the regular agenda or that's on the consent agenda, please come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission. Oh, you here for audience to be heard? Nope. All right. So moving forward to the consent agenda, we have 3 items. First one's approval of the February 3rd meeting minutes. Second is approval of a contract with All Phase General Contractors for $90,000. And third is approval of a payment to Vortex Services for $54,000 for stormwater drain and stormwater pipe cleaning on South Bayshore Boulevard following Hurricane Milton. Does anyone want to pull any of these?
Well, number 2.
All right, do we have a motion for 1 and 3?
Move approval of consent agenda items 1 and 3.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
So I didn't quite I wasn't clear on the agenda item. I saw that I know that it's referencing some drainage, some stormwater drainage around the library, because that's why it's folded into the library bid or the all phase contractors. I guess I just didn't see how it specifically relates to the library.
Correct. So it is a separate project. Michelle, you want to come up? So the library's mentioned for how we did our procurement.
Good evening, Michelle Giuliani, Engineering Director. So this project is piggyback from line items in the contract of the library. So it meets our competitive bid requirement. And this project, I can throw an exhibit up real quick, show you.
Bless you.
So historically, we used to have a drain coming across this driveway. For some reason in 08, 09, it was removed. Nobody ever considered making up for that flooding issue. So this project will incorporate an inlet with a pipe connection to alleviate flooding that we have at that intersection. Since All Phase has done the same type of work as part of the library addition,
That helps a little bit. So they did some drainage work while they were doing the library.
Yes, they did.
So this is close by and they're already there working.
They're there,
Okay.
saves mobile, we don't have to pay a mobilization fee. So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
That's it. Just wanted to understand it a little bit better.
All right, great.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next up, new business item number 1, approval or denial of a waiver or waiver requests for a property located at 238 Second Street North.
All right, for the record, Cecilia Chen, Community Planner, GIS Analyst. Thank you. So, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Before you is a waiver application for 238. Is it better? Okay. It's a waiver application for 238 Second Street North. This property is located on Second Street North, and it is within the Community Town Center Character District, within the Community Redevelopment District. And here is a picture, here's an aerial map. So this property is currently developed with a single-family residential dwelling that was built in the 1950s. The property owner recently bought this property, would like to redevelop it into a 2-story single-family residential. Here is a picture from the other side. So in Community Town Center District, the maximum allowable height is 35 feet. However, as you can see, this lot is rather unique because the previous owner owned this big lot, and then they sold a portion of this lot back in the 1980s. That was before the adoption of Land Development Code, which established the minimum lot area. So this sales created a non-conforming lot of record that's only 71 feet wide and 50 feet deep. And since this is the street frontage, the north yard is considered the front yard and the south yard is considered the backyard. So because the property owner would like to develop it into a single-family residential, our code stated that in the CTC district, freestanding residential shall comply with the area and dimensional standards of the TND1 district. And the TND1 requires the front yard to be at least 20 feet and the backyard to be at least 20 feet. And since this property is only 50 feet deep, that means they're only allowed a 10-foot wide house, which is unreasonable, which is why today the applicants are applying waivers to both the front yard and the backyard to be able to have a reasonable sized house. So here is a proposed architectural plan drawn by the applicants. This is Second Street North over here, so this is facing north. They're requesting a 5-foot front yard setback to incorporate an unenclosed front porch. So the building facade will actually be 13 feet away from the property line. So this porch will be unenclosed and 5 feet over here. And for the backyard, they're requesting an 8-foot setback instead of 20 foot, and require 20 feet. So this is the ground floor, and the living area will be about 1,200 square feet and include a 1-car garage. And the second story will be about 600 square feet, so the second floor will be a lot smaller than the first floor. It's for bulk considerations. It's about 650 square feet. And here is the architectural style that the property owners would like to go for. So this is an example. I would also like to mention that the open front porch will be consistent with the existing development pattern, because this is a neighboring property. They have a front yard, they have a front porch that's about 5 feet away from the property line, so it wouldn't be too stand out from the neighborhood. So here's a request from the property owners. First one is to reduce the required front yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet, and also to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 8 feet. So Land Development Code 100.00 stated that a waiver may be granted if at least one of the 5 following conditions are met, and the applicants believe this application satisfies criteria number 3, where a strict application of the requirement would deprive the owner of reasonable use of the property, and also technical impracticality. So tonight, the City Commission may approve with modification, or deny the waiver requests. If it's approved, staff recommend adding a condition that the front porch shall be limited to 1 story only and shall remain unenclosed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions. The property owners are also here if you have any questions.
I have a question. There appears to be a tree, and I guess we're gonna have our workshop on Monday, this coming Monday. And I kind of want to start addressing some issues with some of these lots that, we got beautiful trees around town. Some of them have to come out of the way in order to build when there's in the middle of a lot, that type of thing. But in this picture, I can see there's a tree in the corner. Is that tree coming down? Is that,
I believe so.
yeah.
So if they are removing, so I have the arborist report with me, I can hand it to staff later.
So are they, so
This-
again, these non-conforming lots are presenting an issue because what's happening is they build all the way to the lot line in order to get the house out there, even though it's a non-conforming lot, and then we have no trees. It's like zero-sum recovery. And I get where their dilemma is. If they were to build a code, they'd have a 10-foot wide, long house. I get that, but the other dilemma is this is just, the city's just taking a hit with trees, and that's part of what I want to address. So whatever the commission's desire is tonight, I think this is a prime issue. This is going on not just in non-conforming lots, this is going on all through the city, and it's just, again, I can get an arborist to give me a report basically saying this tree's failing, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's kind of like a zero-sum recovery, right? There's not room for another tree on the lot once they build, right? Essentially.
They are required to either replant somewhere or they are required to pay into a fee in lieu payment.
Right.
I think when it's a grand tree of a certain size, you're required to pay for probably 3 or 4 trees. It's usually a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio.
And I think that doesn't accomplish what I think we need to start trying to do is at least have a tree on the lot. So, again, no, that's all I had. I just want to ask that question.
So just to follow up on what the vice mayor was saying, the tree looks like, so they're asking for waivers on the front and back setbacks.
Correct.
And the
So-
side, I think, too.
Just the front and back.
Just, okay.
Yeah, so the trees on the side, though,
I think the major concern might be the height. So this is a conversation with the city arborist. We can probably find a way to just, instead of taking it down, there might be a way to just prune the tree. But I don't have enough information to answer that question at this point.
and then just a matter, I thought you were saying that they need to mirror the T and D district. I thought the T and D said 15 foot in the front, and you said 20. Maybe I just read it wrong.
No, that was because of the height, because since they're building kind of like 1.5 story, this is like 2-story height, is usually above 18 feet. So when the building height is below 18 feet, the front setback's 15.
Oh, I got you, okay. And then the rear, okay, I didn't read it all, okay. Got it, all right. Anyone else? Does anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? Yeah, for the applicant?
Could I comment?
Yes, yeah.
I'm Monica
Why don't you come to the microphone?
Hi, I'm Monica Diva, and this is the bungalow that we wanted to put on that little lot. The tree that's there has been hit by lightning twice, and it has that fungus in a lot of places, and it's also leaning toward the house. So it's a danger to the house. Also, the roots are like right, the tree would abut the house, like right there, because the tree goes 10 feet into the property. So there's no way to have the house would be like right against the tree, and the tree's leaning toward the house. It's a danger. It's been hit by lightning twice, has a lot of fungus, and the arborist said that it was rated, I think, a 2.0. And to save it, it would need to be like a 3.0, I think is what he said, if it's a healthy tree, but it's not a healthy tree. And we would also plant more trees. We just can't have it hanging over the house and worry about it all the time.
Let me ask you this, because I get where you're coming from. I have a tree in my front yard hit by lightning, and once it's hit by lightning, it's pretty much, that's the end. It just takes a while before it falls apart.
Exactly.
The question being, I'm kind of, I get where you guys are coming from. I'd like to move forward and allow you guys to build the house, but I also, I think paying into the tree bank is just defeating what, just having some foliage in the city is just defeating the whole purpose when there could be a location on a property to put at least one more tree up or whatever. So if I make a motion to approve this, are you able to put another tree up? In other words, another oak tree somewhere on the property, or?
Yeah, because we're gonna be 10 feet away from the side.
Okay.
We're building the house 10 feet away.
Okay,
On the garage side, it's only 5 feet away, but this other side is 10 feet, so we could put a tree there.
and you,
We love trees.
as far as us making a condition, if we approve it, that you plant another tree?
Yes,
Versus paying into the
Yes.
tree bank, that's something you all can comply with?
yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
I'd like to say something. I am very encouraged about your construction style because you're right by, was that a 2-story apartment building? So I'm very encouraged that what you're proposing is going to look like a bungalow, like a safety harbor bungalow, so I appreciate that. I think it's going to be an improvement. But I also recognize what you're saying about the tree, and I think that's a great
I
idea.
just think it's a direction we ought to start looking at versus, in other words, when we approve these waivers, instead of paying into a tree bank, I mean, I get it. It's a non-conforming lot. It's either gonna be vacant or they're gonna, I mean, no one's gonna buy it and be able to live in it. I mean, just people want bigger houses. They need more living space. So I get that part, but I also know that we're trying to accomplish maintaining some of our tree stock in the city, and I just think we're just, you know, I got an email today about clear cutting these lots and just putting in homes, and I get it. Everybody wants to use up as much space as they can, but it's still detracting from the city in that, you know, we want to encourage development, redevelopment, and infill, but at the same time, we want to kind of keep some of the history, some of what the city's about. So I think it's important, but I respect it, and I'd probably, I'll make a motion to approve it at some point, but with a condition they at least put one tree up there. That's a tree.
So was that a motion?
I mean, anybody else from the audience to be heard? I don't know. Are you done taking any input from the audience, or?
Well, anyone else from the audience that should be heard on this?
All right, I'll move for approval on the condition that there is at least one tree, not a bush, a tree, planted on the property where appropriate.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Can we just, I just want to confirm that your motion to approve was with staff's condition?
Is what?
Was it with staff's condition?
Yeah, also with staff conditions, as well as
To
not
approve as
paying into a
presented? Okay.
not paying into a tree bank, but actually planting a tree.
Okay. I thought that's what it was. I just wanted to confirm.
Thank you.
Come on up real quick, yeah, just, I mean, it's already passed, but you can still say.
Hi, my name is Ahad Tiba, co-owner of the lot. I want to thank you, your staff. This staff, especially Ms. Chen, your arborists, they have been so helpful. I had heard big stories that don't even try. These guys, they have gone beyond the call of duty, and I am very proud to have her and your arborists and you folks to serve us. You know, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, new business number 2. I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commission, Shannon Schaefer, Recreation Superintendent. Here this evening to discuss and approve a grant project location for some artwork. So in late January, Dawn Hanley, who is the president of Speak Up, Let's Talk About Mental Health, approached the city about a grant that she has received. Excuse me. Okay. Her organization received the Golden Arches Grant, which Golden Grants program provides financial support to local nonprofit organizations serving children. Their focus is children, community impact, art programs, community education, initiatives, and service. Speak Up, Let's Talk About Mental Health is a local nonprofit with a mission to remove the stigma of mental health conditions. She wishes to share her grant with the city and with a focus on an art mural to involve youth in this community project. She has partnered with local artists Mena and Tom Kiernan of Menacing Designs. I have before you 3 designs that they have created. The theme of the project is kindness, diversity, community, and mental well-being. This is the first design, which is titled Metamorphosis. A description of it is in your backup. The second is Illumination. The third is #Thriving. This is the design that the Public Art Committee has recommended for you. #Thriving is inspired by the popular old school 90s trend, which is embraced by today's youth. It is aimed at attracting a social media presence, along with a bonus of a nostalgic moment for the adults who remember this style. The #Thriving spreads positivity on social media and can be an opportunity to open conversations regarding multiple topics. Public Art is recommending the location of North City Park. They recommended this location because this building faces a playground and this park sits between 2 neighborhoods, which is visited by a lot of families and youth. Dawn has also offered to donate a buddy bench in the future, so they looked at that when they were picking the location for the mural as well. A buddy bench was created about 10 years ago, and they are known by children that if someone is sitting on the bench, other children go to the bench because they know that they need a friend at that moment. So for tonight, we're asking for discussion about that proposed #Thriving and then the location of North City Park. Both Dawn Handley, the president of Speak Up, Let's Talk About Mental Health, is here tonight, along with the artists Tom and Mena Kiernan.
Thank you. So, are you looking for approval?
Approval of the location and the design. This is a grant that organization has received that she's wishing to gift to the city and be placed on one of our public walls. So there is no cost to us. One of the questions Public Art had for Dawn was usually we are involved in site prep. They're even going to take on all of the site prep for the wall.
Okay, any discussion?
It's just gonna be a mural? There gonna be any plaques or descriptions of the purpose of it, or?
So all of our public art, we do put a small plaque to recognize the name of it and the artist. So there will be a small plaque.
Okay, good. And then I like all of the art. I was a little partial to that Metamorphosis picture. I thought it was nice, but I'm okay with the PAC recommendation too.
Okay.
That's good. What are you looking at me for?
Well, I was looking at Jacob, but yeah.
I think it's good.
I think the location the Public Art Committee picked is satisfactory, and I think they picked the thriving photo, right, or the thriving.
The last one, yeah. Some of the reasons that they selected that one is because they felt it appealed to all ages and genders.
So I mean, gotta go with the Public Art. We just had our board appreciation dinner, and that's what this is. They make the recommendations, and it's a good recommendation. I'm all for it.
I'm good with it too.
Does anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? All right, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Thriving mural for the grant project and the location at the North City Park.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
All right, number 3, we have an update from Clarion.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. This is a City Commission requested update on our existing service contract with Clarion LLC. I'll give a brief presentation on, just a reminder on the contract service agreement we agreed to, and Andrew Laughlin is, I'll give an update on the work that's been done, and their CEO, Andrew Laughlin, is also here to add to the conversation and answer any questions you may have. City engaged in CFO and senior accountant services with the Clarion on December 1st, 2024. This was due to the finance department experiencing increased workload, delayed deliverables, and decreased staffing and experience due to 100% department turnover between 2022 and 2024. That turnover included the finance director, the assistant finance director, the budget analyst, and the accountant with 34 years of institutional knowledge here with the City of Safety Harbor. Currently, our most senior employee in the finance department is Vicky, our finance director, with 2 years of institutional knowledge. So large loss of experience. Our agreement with the Clarion called for, and Commission, you do have a hard copy of this presentation in front of you if needed. Services in the agreement included the planning, managing, and directing the operations of the finance department, attending and participating in City Commission meetings as requested, coordinating the annual budgeting process and assisting in preparing the annual operating and capital budget, and provide other financial reporting throughout the fiscal year, evaluating current business processes within the finance department, oversee the annual financial statement audit of the city and the issuance of the annual comprehensive financial report, completing monthly bank reconciliations up to the current month, reconciling account balances, and recording journal entries as needed. Several ongoing projects that Clarion is working on currently, one of them being the audits. Supervising the city's response to the auditor's data request list towards the completion of the fiscal year 23 audit. That list, originally given to the city in January 2024, contained 142 items. When we agreed to engage in Clarion services in December 2024, that list had 140 outstanding items, and as of today, the list has been reduced to 6 items. The fiscal year 24 audit list is forthcoming from the auditor, and Clarion is holding weekly meetings with the finance director and staff. Our goal still remains to complete both the fiscal year 23 and 24 audit by June 30th of this year. Daily operations. Clarion's senior accountant that's on site provides on-site presence and added capacity to the finance director and the department. They're working on our accounts payable invoice approvals, which is estimated about 150 items per week, as well as our purchasing requisition approval process, which is about 200 items per week. They're doing journal entry approvals as well as PO change orders. All of those elements require analysis and determination to ensure they're adhering to the city's procurement policy. Fiscal year 26 budget planning, the senior accountant on site is coordinating our fiscal year 26 budget. They have created the budget calendar for this year, and they're working with department directors on the entry of their operational and CIP items into the budget module. They're assisting in the preparation of personnel service projected costs, which include payroll, insurance, and benefits. They're participating in department meetings. They'll be participating in our upcoming budget update later this season, as well as our budget workshop. And they'll complete the proposed and final documents for commission review and approval for our fiscal year 26 budget. Pay study elements. They've assisted in performing an in-depth analysis of the pay study to assist the city manager and HR director in formulating implementation options. And other to-date deliverables include weekly city manager meetings, research on pay plans, job titles, budget documentation accuracy, as well as position control. Business process workshops to evaluate current processes. Those are ongoing. as well as working to assist in updating our investment policy as well as our investment options. Next steps include continuing all those services being provided, completing both the fiscal year 23 and 24 audit, prepping for the fiscal year 25 audit, completing the fiscal year 26 budget, and evaluating internal processes for continuous improvement. So I'm happy to entertain any questions, comments, or concerns. And once again, Andrew Laughlin is here from McLaren. Andrew, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sure, nothing really materially to add, other than we're just appreciate the opportunity to be here and work with city staff. We're encouraged by what we've seen in our 10 years thus far in reducing the audit requests and moving the audit preparation process forward. And we're also excited to continue to move these other initiatives forward and helping streamline processes and make the finance operation more efficient. So again, I'll address any questions if you have them on anything that's been covered.
Thank you for coming out, and thank you for everything you're doing in the finance department. I know this has been covered, but I just want to ask it again. So you guys are doing the audit and you're doing the consulting. Are those two different companies to create the independence, or how's that set up so the audit has the independence from the actual preparation of the documents?
Right, great question. So we're not independent of the city, and so we are not performing the audit services for the city. So that's being done by a firm, Clifton Larson Allen CLA. So we're providing an outsourced accounting and finance and consulting function, helping with the audit preparation, thus maintaining any level of independence in terms of audit and accounting rules. That doesn't apply to our agreement.
And you used to be with Clifton Larson, right?
I used to be, right, in my former life, yep.
Yeah, your former life, all right.
So essentially, we found ourselves in a position to have to, contract out accounting services because of the number of staff we lost in that department. Is that what's happened? In other words, I know we didn't have an outside source coming in years ago. But now, because of the loss of personnel, is that what's going on?
Right, so if the idea is, I'm sure Andrew will add to it too, just the amount of time for somebody to get caught up to speed with though they may have experience and they do from other areas, but just the institutional knowledge and our process, our procedures, getting caught up to speed with what has happened in prior years. And I think, for me, when I look at the totality of the years of institutional knowledge that is no longer here, and we're working to fill seats. So, Vicki, our finance director, has been here for 2 years. She has other staff members, and even with their, diverse experience and backgrounds, they've only been here 6 to 8 months. So I feel like Clarion's just offered that workplace enhancement to help us get to where we need to be, and I think essential to ensure those audit processes are done to supplement the existing team.
Okay. Let me ask you how, so we're going into 2026, and I don't disagree. I think we need assistance. I guess the question is, how we're going into 2026 from what I can see with the presentation, how far down the road are we going to go contracting out? Or do you foresee this as just, year by year after 26, just to see where it heads?
For the short term, my answer is, in working with finance director as well as a Clarion on the work they're doing, and my plan would be to budget the use of the Clarion again for fiscal year 26 to help supplement the existing team, as well as fill those vacant employee positions, get those positions filled, get all hands on deck. A lot of it is the experience and how long it takes to get people up to speed, where I feel an organization like a Clarion allows us to expand and contract, and at this point expand into some help that we need to get these items done. That's the short term.
And how many vacancies do we have in finance?
We have one current. Specifically, when we speak of finance, I speak of the finance director, the assistant finance director, the budget analyst, and then I may mess up the title, but I believe it's accountant. Out of those four, we still have one vacancy, and that's the assistant finance director. Okay. So my plan is over the next is that early April, mid-April, I'd like to post for the vacancies in that group.
I don't have an issue with privatization of some of the city functions, but at some point, we either, you either continue on with a vacancy so you can continue on with privatization and outsourcing and contracting. But if we're going to hire in staff, I would have an issue continuing to privatize that work. But for now, I think it's a big help to the city. I can see the benefit, and I realize the loss to the city and the vacancy we have. But I would like to kind of either have an idea that we're going to kind of privatize that function and kind of go in that direction, or we're going to, at some point, have appropriate staff that can actually handle, the work at hand in that department. But
I think as we look at what Clarion is doing is looking at internal processes. Our first goal right now is to clear the audits. That's
Right,
the
that's
key,
been an issue.
and figure out the budget. So I think as that dust settles, as the audits get completed, we're working towards the finalizing the fiscal year 26 budget. Andrew and Al Braithwaite are working on their process improvements with Vicki Gilly and the rest of finance staff. I'll be able to offer a better picture of how that works. So my hope at this point is that as time goes on, we'd be able to fill those positions and staff would be gaining more institutional knowledge and time to do that workload. And perhaps it does involve some type of work with a Clarion or a vendor such as that to allow us the opportunity to expand and increase margin as needed. But I think that full analysis will be at a later date.
okay, I just.
I kind of get what you're saying, Vice Mayor. Like, we don't want to end up with the worst of both worlds, where we've got a fully staffed department and we're still paying consultants at the same
Right.
time.
Right.
So, yep, at some point we've got to choose.
Right.
And I don't, April's a few months off. Like, I don't know, it might be worth tabling that role, saving the payroll for a little bit until we get in a better spot.
Understood.
What's the timeline as far as weaning off a Clarion?
So
You need a dose of methadone when you deal with me.
So we have them for, our contract includes the rest of this fiscal year. My plan right now, if I had to lock in the budget for fiscal year 26, I would include services from them. But once again, we're in the infancy stages of the budget process. I think the biggest thing is waiting till that audit, staying focused on completing the audit.
I have something to throw in about what you just said, Commissioner. If we wait to hire, then that's less knowledge that the new hire will get from the outside source. And so I feel some sense of urgency in getting help for our finance department too. So I'm torn. What you said sounds very logical on a spreadsheet or a business, but in terms of executing the tasks, I think the department needs another helper that could probably benefit from this outside help.
I think they're
That's
working
where I
on, but I think they're also working on efficiencies. He's trying to make the department more efficient, and so someone that comes in with less institutional knowledge will have an easier time at tasking certain tasks because of the efficiencies they're building. So I think it's
I hope so.
multifold what they're doing, but I think at some point, you just either privatize or you have the employee.
I can offer a little, we're coming at this for two angles. So one is the compliance side. So those are some things that were mentioned. Payment approvals, audit preparation, those are 911 items, things that gotta get done. So that's one aspect of the work we're doing. And the other aspect is improvement, right? And so we've got people, process, and technology, and they're all interwoven. So we take a kind of holistic approach. All three need to work in order for the finance operation to be successful. So that's what we are looking at. We haven't provided the full depiction and the full map to the city manager so that he can make an informed decision, convey that to you, and then you all can help, weigh in and make the ultimate best decision for the city. So like we're in a little incipient stages there to make a good educated decision on the go-forward plan. I can just tell you from other experiences with other cities, we've been in a part-time finance director role 3.5 years ago, and we're still there 3.5 years later. Also, we've been in a role where they needed some support temporarily. We're in a few months, they've hired that individual, and we're out, and we've made certain, assistance and adjustments here or there. Others been just kind of project-based work, like, hey, there's a heavy workload here, we need you to come in and then come out, and then maybe we'll call you again at a future date. So our model is one of flexibility, right? Depending on whatever the specific need is, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach. So we're here for the short term, we're here for the long run, or anywhere in between. And that's what we kind of are endeavoring to work through now to build out that people, process, and technology model altogether, to spell success for the finance operation on a go-forward basis.
And I would just say that, I appreciate what y'all are doing. In a former life, I was an auditor, and, one thing I remember is you gain a lot of experience when you audit whoever the client is, that you learn their business or, their government inside and out. So I have we've never been this far behind. I mean, to still be working on the 2023 audit, we have never been this far behind. So I'm in a really uncomfortable position right now, and it scares me. We may get, I don't want to be in a position like this ever again, and we're getting these letters from the state threatening to withhold money, and, they're coming to, so from my perspective, I do have a level of comfort having a Clarion in right now, because having been on the audit side of the engagement, he's got a familiarity with ours, with our books and how to prepare our, get ready for an audit. That's going to be hard to replace. So, I'm not saying we need to keep him forever, but right now I feel really good that you guys are here helping out and comfortable with it. I mean, we had 140 items, now we're down to 6. And, we get the 24 audit that we need to start cranking on.
Just to jump in, I think all the feedback, we appreciate it, we take it all in, and to add to, just as Andrew was saying, the technology part too. So, the other thing for us to look at as we come out the other end of having the audit done is the technology we use in-house. So, if we weren't going to have just some things that don't have to be answered right now, and that I don't have the answer for you right now because they're evaluating these processes, is a lot of it also has to come to do with the software we currently use, the newness of it, as opposed to that if we were to expand more with an outside vendor, there'd also be opportunities or costs associated with transferring, the computer models we use for that software. So, once again, for me, all great feedback, and for us to add into the discussion as we move forward.
I did want to also ask you, where do we stand on these letters from the state in addressing their threats to withhold money and grants and stuff?
Sure. So we're in communications with the state. Clarion, Al Braithwaite, who's on site with us, is in communication with them. I know Clarion is working, Vicky is working to clear the list. We're getting sample sizes from CLA. The state has a draft CRA document for us that just hasn't been finalized with the audit from CLA. And I know Andrew's working with CLA to make sure they get that done as soon as possible for us.
Can I please ask a question? This might be too great a question, too vast, but does one audit overlap under the other audit? In other words, once 23 is finished, is 24 up just a brand-new endeavor? Or can some information via computers, software, be transferred onto the 24? So let's say it's a quarter finished. Or is it just all fresh? Once we get through with 23, we have to start fresh all over.
Well, it depends on which lens you're looking at that. So if it's the auditor, those that perform the audit, that's a linear process. They'll complete the 2023 audit and then move into the 2024 audit. Okay. But then from the lens of the finance team, we can certainly do two things at once. So we can get through, as we're finalizing 2023 audit preparation, let the auditors perform audit tasks. They'll give us back questions, samples of requested samples that we need to provide information. But simultaneously, we'll be working on our year-end close process for 2024, so we can significantly speed that up. So as soon as they're done with 23, the idea is, hey, we've got 2024 ready, and we can move onto that audit quickly instead of then having to, like you said, start all over. And now let's start the 2024 audit prep. We're already in the midst of the 2024 audit preparation.
Thank you. That
So the
helps.
two things can work simultaneously.
I appreciate that.
I think we should keep moving forward with it and then just do an update, 6 months, a year down the road, and just see where are we, when you talk about weaning off at some point, whether it's 26 or 27, kind of want to get to either, we have, I like predominantly in-house doing it, but we may continue to need services from a contractor to kind of get us through for a while, so.
We'll continue to evaluate. I know it's been 2 months since we engaged in an agreement. Plan to come back in another 2 months. We'll give you an update, let you know where we're at. And then, I'll, with the staffing and the work that's at hand, working with the Clarion, I'll take all that feedback into consideration as we build out the budget going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this item? All right, so moving forward to the Cash Fest liquidity and treasury analysis. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. This item is before you this evening as staff has received consistent feedback from you on improving the management of our investment program. Most recently, on December 16, 2024, the City Commission expressed concern over perceived opportunities lost in the investment of city-owned public funds and overall portfolio health. While the city's investment policy continues to be executed by the Finance Department, dedication to public funds investing may yield greater investment results. The Finance Department currently lacks sufficient personnel to dedicate the time and effort required for this task. One potential solution, known as liquidity and treasury analysis, is offered by 3+1 Incorporated. Finance staff met with representatives and deemed their service highly beneficial and at a fraction of the cost compared to employing staff solely dedicated to this function. Once again, this handout is in front of you. City Commission. 3+1 services will provide liquidity management data that pinpoints the time value of the city's cash in the marketplace. That's one of the most unique aspects of this vendor. And when I'm done, Al Braithwaite from Clarion, who did the research for this, will be able to give further information and answer any questions you have. 3+1 will also monitor, review, and report on all financial institution accounts as provided, assist the city in preparing short-term cash management by providing stress tests and algorithmic simulations on all cash, analyze the city's liquidity proficiency to continually prepare the city to earn and save the most without sacrificing safety or liquidity. Ensure appropriate and competitive pricing is being received from financial partners pertinent to the facilitation of cash management. Assist the city in garnering preferred deposit rates with its banking providers. Monitor and analyze the city's bank billing analysis statements. Clearly define the next steps and recommendations to uncover new sources of value on identified strategic liquidity, and conduct a review of the city's investment policy statement. This is not an investment advisory service nor a brokerage. This service will monitor our public funds 24/7 and provide information on the time value of our money, ultimately improving our short-term cash management. This agreement is offered in one-year increments and has been reviewed by legal. The fees are simple in that the company annually charges $250 per million of our last approved budget. Based on the current budget, the fee for the first year would not exceed $30,000. Funds are available due to staff vacancies and will be addressed in a future budget amendment. The agreement also contains a unique guarantee in that if 3+1 does not show a one-to-one benefit through its cash vest initial analysis compared to the proposed annual fee for the city, the initial cash vest analysis will be provided at no cost with no further obligation. With respect to the city's procurement manual, the city manager has determined after research with staff that this is a unique source for this service. The cash vest service and platform are protected by copyrights, trademarks, patents, and proprietary software, ensuring exclusive access to liquidity analysis and data services that no other firm offers, which will be required to provide a similar service.
3+1 is the only provider of liquidity analyses and treasury services monitoring for public entities under exclusive agreements with the National Association of Counties and the Florida Association of Counties. Each organization deemed 3+1 as a sole source and confirmed that no other entity can replicate the services they offer. And key, 3+1's combination of technology, analytics, and public finance expertise makes it the only provider capable of delivering these specialized services nationally. Staff recommends approval of professional services agreement with 3+1 Incorporated for $30,000. Staff, including Al Braithwaite, a Clarion senior accountant, is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, you lost me.
Because I think the mayor a while back brought up with, the issue of, hey, we have all this money, how can we best invest it in compliance with, I guess, state law, because we're a municipality, we can't just go out and, take risky investments, et cetera. And then, so I'm kind of like, I don't even know what this company does, other than they can research things and kind of give us insight, versus an investment company that would be in compliance with state law, that could do the same thing and invest the money. So I'm lost. So help me out so I can understand what since you're not a broker, since you're not really necessarily going to direct funds other than give us advice on liquidity or having funds available? Or am I completely wrong?
Yes, sir. No, you're not. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Al Braithwaite, consultant to the Finance Department for Clarion. This company is essentially telling us, providing opportunities through algorithmic and proprietary software, which is where the sole source thing gets to be questioned, about opportunities we have to invest our money, obviously for longer periods of time, to get the advantage. And in my personal experience, which some of you know me from not too far away, most of my years in this business have been in finance, and my own experience with investment advisory companies even, and this is not an investment advisory company, is that nobody will commit to tell you how much of your money you should invest at certain portions of, say, the yield curve, or how far out you go. And that's tied to cash flow analysis, but this company essentially says they consider themselves to be sole source, they have the endorsement of the National Association of Counties and the Florida Association of Counties, because their software tells you that here's your money, they take bank deposit information, and they constantly monitor it, and they tell you how far to put it out in what situations. And I can tell you from personal experience that every investment relationship I've ever had in the municipal sector, none of them will commit to doing that. That's a rarity. Now, I know it's been questioned about whether or not this is considered truly a sole source, and I kind of buy the argument, because you can find humongously large financial institutions that will offer it, but they generally come with a requirement that you have a custodial relationship or a bank relationship with them as well. So while this company is much smaller, their purpose or their objective is not to tell us what to buy and not to tell us who to buy it from. It's basically taking all of our bank data and all of our history of spending and putting it in their proprietary software to come out with telling us that there are opportunities out there for us to invest things longer. They're not going to say, go buy a treasury. They're just going to say, you can take $5 million of the money you currently have in the bank, and you can put it out for a longer period of time based on their software. So at the end of that deal, if you will, they guarantee that the money that we would pay them for the service, which is $250 per million of our approved budget, if they don't uncover more than that in the course of the year, if we were to approve, it's free. So there's essentially no risk to doing so. I acknowledge the question about whether or not we could find, I made a list, I did some research because I'm kind of a doubter. The other companies that would say they would offer this, for example, Bloomberg, S&P Global, Moody's Analytics, Fitch, Standard & Poor's, all the big four accounting firms, JP Morgan, see the point? I asked the vendor, well, why can't you do this in an RFP? Why wouldn't we? They're more than happy to. Their position would be that nobody else would respond, because all of these are huge fintech firms, and they probably wouldn't bother with an account this small. This is tailor-made for exactly what we want to be doing. I apologize, I don't mean to insult your intelligence. The professorial part of this is a lot of people confuse liquidity analysis with cash flow analysis. The essence of it is liquidity analysis is more short-term. Cash flow analysis is opportunities based on your spending for what's more long-term. Well, I've watched most of the meetings since I've been here, and I've heard commentary to suggest that we're not taking advantage of opportunities that exist. So if that's true, this would be a perfect answer for that, because then we'd have essentially a company that was 24/7 monitoring the opportunities that, based on the proprietary software that they have, they're going to say we should take advantage of. If it doesn't translate, we don't pay for it. Sir?
Well, thank you, Al. So remind me, who is our broker right now?
Well, as I understand it, we have a broker relationship with Stifel. And Stifel they bought out Vining and Sparks, and Vining and Sparks at one time were affiliated with apparently all of our investments. Now, one of the things we were talking about internal controls was that we were going to make recommendations on maybe changing that, not necessarily moving away from Stifel, just saying changing the way we go about that. This service would do nothing to suggest who we do business with. All this service is going to say is, here's somebody we think you could put out longer.
So shouldn't Stifel be doing this analysis and saying, I mean, it sounds like this company, 3+1, is just giving us feedback on the duration of the investments we should be in on the debt side? Isn't that something Stifel should also be?
Well, I guess you could make the argument that for investment, my own personal experience would suggest that you shouldn't have one broker. Again, this company is not a broker.
Right.
But if you're buying in the secondary market, Florida statutes is pretty strict about what you can and can't do. And as I understand it right now, when we buy from Stifel, we get a recommendation on something that he's examined as, let's call it a fit in our portfolio. And he'll say, I think you need something to fit here. Let's say you had a ladder. I have a 2-year spot right here where we have nothing. I think you should have something in that spot. That's similar, but since we only have one broker, we can't assume that he's going to give us something that's what's best for the city.
So
With more than one broker, at least you get somebody competing. And again, I'm getting a little off because that's not really what this is.
as far as we know, does Stifel take a holistic view of our portfolio? Because it sounds like, oh, we have an extra $50,000, call Stifel, see where they can invest that $50,000, but shouldn't Stifel, at a minimum, be taking a holistic view, looking at the entire portfolio, looking at the asset allocation and the durations and everything, and, giving us their recommendations and advice on stuff like that also?
Well, with advanced apologies to Stifel because I do not know them at all, what I'm suggesting is the holistic view would simply be, where is there a spot where something to mature belongs? And that is not unrelated to this, but again, in the world of competitive investment, you can't assume that if one broker may own the security that he wants to sell, and if he tells you you need that security in that spot, unless we compete with other brokers, we don't know that we're getting the best price. And I'm not trying to suggest that they've ever done that wrong. I'm just suggesting that right now, we're only relying on one broker to make that suggestion. And this is a particular, maybe a different way of going about looking at that.
So I have the impression that we don't have a lot of interaction with Stifel, and I might be wrong on that one. But if that's, it sounds like what they do is great. But what I'm wondering is do we need to be taking a step in looking at a new broker who's, full service, hands-on, that's going to be giving us, doing this in addition to managing the entire portfolio? This sounds like maybe it's an interim step. It's like a stopgap or something, but
I'm sorry.
I feel like maybe we need to be.
Well, my only suggestion there would be, it isn't a bad idea to have a broker, but you should not have just one. You can avoid the whole thing. You can say, I'm only buying original issue securities. Whatever the coupon says it is, when the syndicate puts it out, that's what we buy. The guy who's the broker makes $50 from the syndicate, you're not paying a price that he tells you you gotta pay. So in that sense, what we want to do what's best for the city is if we were buying secondary market materials, stuff that's in the market, buying and sell, you should get more than one price to see if the person that's selling it to you is making more than he should. So your point about the holistic view is accurate, but it shouldn't be just one broker. We should have a rotating list of certified brokers that meet our criteria, that said anytime we decide, which is what 3+1 would tell us, that we want to go out 2 years or 10 years, then we'd go to those brokers and say, okay, I want a 10-year treasury, give me your pricing at 10 o'clock. And the 3 brokers would say, here's what we'll charge you, here's what we'll charge you, here's what we'll charge you, we buy the one that's the cheapest.
So is 3+1, although they're not a broker, are they gonna, if they say, well, you can go out 2 years with whatever, $2 million right here, are they gonna kind of tell us or give us an idea of what we need to invest in?
Nope.
That would come down to the broker.
Totally independent. All they're doing is providing this data from this huge
How long you
study.
can lock the money up, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. And the point being, they're willing to stand behind it to say, well, if you do this for a year, and we don't make you more money than we're charging you, it's free. And I think it's a great product for our situation. I've known about it for years, but our situation, because we have not a lot of staff, we don't have Vicki isn't a certified investment officer. I am a certified investment officer. We have the authority, and Vicki has exercised it with the broker that we've done business with. This isn't against any broker. This is just to say that this is a firm that does that research and monitors it 24/7. So now they'll become part of our team, and they'll tell us, you have this opportunity we think you should do. Then we would go to 1 broker, 2 brokers, or whatever.
I'd like to have a meeting and figure out, I like having multiple brokers with different views and different opinions, but it seems to me what I'm getting is we need to find a broker that's gonna do what we wanna do in accordance with state law, and it doesn't seem like we're getting the best bang for the buck, and that's how this conversation even started. But it seems to me we need to have like either a workshop or something with our broker so that we understand better. And if we need another broker, which I think sounds to me that it would be prudent if we had 2 brokers, so that we get the best price on the investment.
So I guess where my head is like, I remember way back in the day, people had some money, and what you did is you had a stockbroker. And it's like, hey, I want to buy stock IBM or, Apple or something. It's like, all right, let's find the best, here's the bid, here's the ask, let's get and that was their service. They were buying and selling stocks, and that's what it's kind of sounds like what you're saying that Stifel does or a competing broker would do. But I feel like there's a new industry going on where you have investment advisors, and they look at your whole entire portfolio, and they say, here's how you should be asset allocated. And I know there's rules around municipalities, but here's how much you should have in equities, here's how much you should have in debt and fixed income, here's what kind of fee structure you should be looking at, and putting together the whole thing and monitoring it every year and looking, and I don't feel like we have it. I feel like it's like, oh, we got an extra $100,000, call the stockbrokers, let them invest it, but there's not that that holistic viewpoint and advice that's happening on a regular basis that I think I would like to see, and I don't know if Stifel's the right firm, but I know there are companies out there that do stuff like that, where they can maximize the return on it and even take it a step further and say, hey, where's your cash? Are you getting a sweep on your cash, or is it just sitting there not earning anything until you invest it? Sorry, Vicki, you're up here.
Yeah, Victoria Gilly, Finance Director. I just wanted to kind of clarify a little bit. So Vining Sparks was our safekeeper, and we also used them for that broker type relationship because they did both sides of it. Well, when Vining Sparks was bought out by Stifel, we were not able to come to an agreement for the safekeeping. So the safekeeping has actually been moved to Regions.
The custodian,
As a custodial agreement, exactly. So we are still working with Stiefel for that broker-type relationship because we already had that, but we do not have a financial advisory agreement with them at all right now. We are using them because we had that relationship already going with them for this in-between period. Remember when we brought that custodial agreement with Regions, it was always intended as kind of the short-term answer because we needed to move out of those Stiefel accounts. So this is kind of our way of saying, okay, well, what do we need? Where does everything stand so we can make that next decision on, do we go into an active investment management or do we continue doing it in-house how we have? So I'm sorry to I just wanted to jump in and kind of clarify that a little bit because I think that we got a little confused on what Stiefel was doing as the broker.
Are we paying Stiefel like an annual fee for assets under management as far as we know?
We are not paying Stiefel for an annual fee, no.
But you are paying him for any recommendation he makes on a security you buy.
Yeah, so they're transactional, they're just buying and selling, but there's no advisor looking at all of our investments, which is tens of millions of dollars, and saying, huh?
More than that, sir.
Right, okay, so it's even more, so there's the need, I mean, I feel like we need, I don't know about this role, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but I feel like we need an investment advisor, maybe someone local, maybe someone in Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, like a Morgan Stanley or a, there's local, there's all these different advisors in the area, creative planning, I see their commercials on TV, that could handle the big picture.
Well, generally speaking, obviously, we'll do anything commission directs us to do. Investment advisors are generally paid to make those decisions for you. If you had a depository relationship of $10 million with JP Morgan, you're paying them a certain number of basis points, and they're deciding what to buy and what not to buy.
Yes.
There certainly can be value in that. I'm simply suggesting that this company doesn't require you to do business with anybody, so if we did something as an additional layer, fine, but you would be paying for that, whether they make you any money or not.
But so let's just take it a step further. So if we had an investment advisor and we had 3+1, the investment advisor's job is to make those decisions on where to put the money. Wouldn't that be some friction or in conflict with this other firm, 3+1, saying, no, you should be buying this duration? Maybe the investment advisor is saying, no, here's the portfolio we put together, here's how we have it. I feel like you're setting it up for some kind of conflict.
It could. 3+1 doesn't care who we do business with or how many brokers we
But
have.
they're not looking at the whole picture either.
They're looking at everything we have and the entirety of our spending history for as much data as we can give them, along with how much cash we have, and they're going to make calculated guesses based on their software to say, we think you could put this out further, this out further. Now, if
They're telling us how to put new money, right?
Sorry?
They're telling us where to put new money.
Well, they're telling us if they see an opportunity where they think we don't have spending needs for something that's invested short-term, they could say, we suggest you go further up. So that's possible. So now, back to your other example. If investment advisors are involved, we'd be paying them, let's say, a number of basis points on asset value, and they would be saying, we want to do this. Now, the problem that I see there is you don't necessarily know, and maybe you can believe it or maybe you can't, that what they're suggesting you do benefits you as much as it could be benefiting them. And one of the examples of that with one broker is you generally don't know if you're purchasing something from the broker, whether it's something that he's going out in the market to get for you and then put a price on top of it to sell it to you because his holistic view said, you need a 2-year treasury here, it's fine, but he went out to get it. Or does the company he worked for already own it? And if he already owns it, you now have a question about, are they trying to get rid of it? Or is it really what's best for us? So I call these the investment police, if you will. They don't care, they're totally independent, they don't care who we do what with. They're just saying the liquidity analysis is the connection between the two other goals of municipal investing, that being safety first and yield last. So the liquidity is the way you maintain the safety, but you keep the yield. Your idea is not a bad one, and you certainly could do both. And yes, it could end up creating a conflict, but they won't really have any problem with anything else you want to do. Maybe you could say it costs more than it needed to, or maybe you want the extra opinion. Both of those are fine, and we'll do anything commission wants to do.
I think we need to have a major discussion, and I think we need to have a broker because our money's not really working for.
Advisor. Yeah.
I'll jump in on that too. Just listening to all of it, I feel like it doesn't quite address the ask, which is manage the whole portfolio, try to get our money into the right places. It could be a really good complement to where we want to go, but we do have broker concerns, as you're mentioning. So, and I think we might be just rushing into this contract a little too fast. It may still be worth it. They may bring some value, but I'd rather kick it around in the finance committee for a little bit or see what else we're going to do on top of it. They'll be willing to make us a contract in a few weeks or a few months or whatever when we get there.
I'm going to say that I remember with Finding Sparks, I remember this gentleman coming and meeting with us. Everything would be spread out for us. Here's what you have. And I'm not a finance person, but I got it at the end of the day. And now I'm beginning to wonder, was he selling what his company was selling? I don't know that part of the picture, but I just know that I had that confidence because they'd meet with us every year, and that hasn't happened for a long time since this changeover, apparently. But I also like this idea of having this outside group spur the operation, as it were, watch it and say, okay, it's time. But I also have the same question you had. Why isn't the broker doing that? Wouldn't it behoove the broker to get us to buy more, to make more transactions, so the broker would make money? Why would the broker be passive? But now I understand what you're saying. That broker is not working for us right now.
So even if you had 3+1 saying, hey, you got $2 million, I suggest you put in a 2-year duration security. You still have a broker or an advisor that still has the ability to pick something that may or may not benefit them, or they may get a higher fee on. I don't know. I think this could be a good service. I'd like to just see us have an investment advisor that's, really invested, and I don't mind paying them an asset management fee. That's, looking at the whole portfolio, seeing where we are, looking at our allocations, seeing where we can get better yield, lower fees on some of the underlying investments, because we don't know what kind of fees we've been paying on some of these. I think that's where my head is I want to see a new, preferably local investment advisor that's going to be looking at the entire portfolio.
I think we should do an RFP and try and kind of
Yeah.
look for, and maybe have more than one. And I just think we're pulling the cart before the horse with going forward with the 3+1 tonight, because I think we need to look at the whole picture and find out, is this a service that is also going to be addressed by a local broker if we go with a local broker? In other words, I understand what they're doing. They're saying, based on an analysis, what money we can put out and invest it, and for what period of time based upon cash flow, et cetera. I get what they're doing. But I think, we've got a good amount of money invested, and you can only invest in certain things. You can't just go out and buy a bunch of stock and call it a day. I mean, it's a total different mindset of what you can put municipal money into. So, it's pretty conservative investments, and we should still be doing better than what we're doing. It just seems like we're just dead in the water here. Might as well just get a bank account and throw it in a bank account.
I appreciate your mentioning an RFP on this. That was like the first thing that struck me when I was reading through the backup, and then it was addressed at the end of the backup that this is a sole proprietor of this type of service. Josh alluded to it in his presentation, and you mentioned it as well. But I was still kind of skeptical that this is satisfying that procurement process, given that we have other options on how we address the issue. Even if this is the only company that does this thing, it doesn't necessarily bypass the procurement process or evaluate all of our options, right?
Could I jump on that question, please? Did you say, Mr. Braithwaite, that the usual financial advisors who advise municipalities won't want to do an RFP, won't want to answer our ask?
Well, since I had the same question that had been raised at the Finance Advisory Board about whether or not this truly is a sole source, because so many people get lost in the difference between what liquidity analysis is and what cash flow analysis is, I figured we certainly could come up with some companies that say they would want to perform that. The RFP part, well, our procurement policy says that the city manager can declare it to be a sole source because of the threshold of what is going to cost. And because we already knew that, because he told us what the price was, well, now an RFP process, if there were a bunch of willing participants, they already know what he's going to charge, and he's not going to be lowering the price to win the business. And these are such big companies. He suggested, because I asked, I said, well, how do you have RFPs if you're telling me you're a sole source? He said, well, because whenever we participate in one, nobody else bids.
Yeah, but I think this is different, we're talking about different services. You have one service that's suggesting duration of investments, and then we're talking about a whole. Huh?
Duration and how much?
Yeah, duration, how much, and then you have another whole different service. I think, my opinion is we need to focus on starting, put the cart before the horse, or put the horse before the cart, is find the investment advisor. If we find there's a need to do a more thorough analysis on duration of our investments, that's great, assuming they'll play well in the sandbox together. I just like to see our focus on finding an investment advisor to look at the whole thing right now.
Yeah, just a couple final words. Clearly, there's discomfort, so I would make the recommendation not to move forward, but just to give you some context of the 3+1 proposition, is this is sort of like an outsourced function in the finance department. Larger governments have a treasury manager that evaluates your entire portfolio of both cash and investments. The City of Safety Harbor has cash in bank, that has CDs, it has local government investment pools, and then it has a managed portfolio, right? So I've been in a lot of different situations in different governments where we've had expiring CDs, and no one at the city is aware until your account manager at the bank says, you've got a CD expiring, do you want to renew? And the staff member is so busy doing 50 other things, okay, fine, extra 6 months, right? So those are some of the things that we want to avoid, whether we want to hire a full-time position to manage treasury and investments. I don't think that's necessary for a city this size. So this was sort of an outsourced play on that with detailed analytics through proprietary software to answer some of these questions. So I guess there's the lingering question of, can this complement well also an investment advisory firm to help manage a portfolio of $35 million? And can the two both play in the same sandbox nicely, and will this work out well? Is the fee structure too high, that we are bringing in too many consultants, too many cooks in the kitchen? Maybe it doesn't work. I think those are some of the things that we can discuss internally with the management team and then come back with you on. But I wanted to just make sure we understand kind of the separation here versus your traditional investment advisor with a $40 million portfolio, and this is what we want to invest in Fannie Mae's, this is what we want to invest in treasuries, so on and so forth, as well as the holistic approach of, well, what's our cash in and out in our bank account each day? Do we really need 17 million in operating cash that's earning little to no interest? Can we move some of that into a CD? Those are some of the things an investment manager won't tackle head on that this firm could do. So maybe they do complement each other well, but let's do a little more internalizing and come back with you with some more intel.
So you bring up a good point, because the way you describe it is as an outsourced treasury manager. Well, now I can kind of wrap my head around and see what you're saying. Like, okay, we don't have a treasury manager. It may not be the investment advisor's job to make those kind of decisions, so maybe they will complement. I'm still wondering if it makes sense to start with an investment advisor and then see if there's a role for this. But I'm glad you kind of said it like that, because now I can kind of see where you're going with that.
Let me back up a little bit. So how do you envision this working? So you have 3+1 is our advisor. He's going to, obviously, all the data has to be put into 3+1 software, cash flows, liquidity, what's available, right? So 3+1 is going to have access to that information, and they are going to then, based on that data, right, they're going to relay the information to somebody in the finance department or whatever to okay, invest, put money in CDs or stock or whatever and then, of course, that person will then have to contact that broker or bank and execute it, correct? Is that how it works?
Right, it's more forward-thinking, helping us make forward-thinking decisions.
Okay.
And depending on what needs to be executed, maybe we just need to pull money out of cash and into a short-term CD or into a local government investment pool that may not need the assistance of a broker or investment
Yeah.
advisor.
Okay, because it's a mix of all different
Correct. And so
instruments.
this is enhanced reporting. I mean, I don't know when the last time you received a year-to-date or quarterly report on our portfolio and what we're earning and how much and when, but those are the sorts of things that'll be generated because they're getting access to those bank statements, to those, the CD statements, the LGIP statements, the investment portfolio statements, and compiling all that and then disseminating it into usable information.
So who would you envision, like, would it be the finance director? Who would you envision within the city of Safety Harbor to have that position to be moving money over and?
In a traditional setting, that would be the finance director that's pulling the strings on that. And you look to your investment policy if there's specifics on who has what authority, but in most settings I see it would be the finance director.
Yeah. See, the thing is that, I mean, I like the independence, and the problem with, going to brokers or investment advisors is that they make money on the value of the amount of money they have, right? And they're never gonna want to get rid of that money. They want that money to be X amount here, they want to make money for you, but they also want, the more value they have, the more they make.
So they're incentivized to grow the pot versus.
Exactly.
But you don't want someone transactional. The flip side is, the other way to structure it is you pay someone for each transaction, and you don't want to incentivize someone just to make a bunch of trades, so they're making money off each trade.
But when you're running a business and, with CDs, I mean, you don't need a broker for a CD or anything like that. Maybe the best median today or maybe this year is going to be put money in a CD, or perhaps like maybe the city is
You saw our portfolio, it's all these bonds, I mean, we got all these different varieties of bonds and treasuries.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of stuff in
There's all
there.
kinds of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need someone to look at that portfolio.
And those vehicles are all subject to scrutiny and benchmarking,
Yeah.
right? So they'll take that
Yeah.
data, benchmark it against, what available out there and make sure, okay, are we being overcharged on fees for, transactional fees? With our banking relationship, are the rates on these CDs, are they reasonable compared to norms? So all those things take part in that yes, we could hire a full-time employee to devote themselves to that. I don't think that's really wise in this scenario for a $65 million cash investment portfolio for a city this size. So this is just an alternative.
Could I speak up about the alternative? Also, let me reiterate, they're charging us $30,000, but if we don't realize that cost, that $30,000, they will refund us the $30,000. So it's really a very low-risk option, but you gentlemen are still concerned about putting that first.
It's something that the broker may actually do in-house. It's like an extra step, and if to stay where we're at now, it would work. In other words, if we just say we're happy, we'll just leave the money put, that's just, we'll hire them, and they can just tell us when to pull, how much to put in, how far out to put it out, and we'll stay where we're at. But I think if you were to hire an institutional brokerage firm, they're going to have specialists that only deal with municipalities, county government, et cetera. They're going to have an understanding and an idea of what they can put us in. There's an incentive for them to make money, but we're not talking about bunches of transactions where they're just churning money to put us in and out of stocks. I mean, we're not going to be shorting money. We're very limited on what we can do, but we're not getting the best bang for the buck right now because there's no one actually kind of watching that and making sure that it's.
We had it. It was working back with, whatever that guy's name was.
But I think that's what we should do. We should do an RFP, and I think we should probably go from there. And I would say I wouldn't preclude this 3+1. I wouldn't say no to them just straight out. I think we just need to kind of see what's on the table and then put it all together and see what's going to work best for us by kind of questioning, if we have a broker that shows up, questioning, what do you do? How do you move money around? Do you have a process by which you can look at our funds and decide based on the money in and out, how much we need as far as liquidity or cash flow, et cetera? If they can somewhat duplicate it, that's one thing. If they can't, then we consider adding 3+1 and going from there. But I think if you just put it all together so that we can have a better understanding of a policy that's going to work best for the city, I think that's the direction you go. But that's what I'd like to see.
That's where my head is also, is an RFP for an investment advisor. And you've worked with other cities, maybe you know some that are, you want to give us some recommendations?
Sure, yeah, I've got great relationships with a number of investment
Yeah.
advisory firms, so we can tally that and come back to you all with more information.
Do you think it makes sense to do this through the Finance Advisory Board, or?
Sorry, just, if we're going to do a RFP or RFQ for it, then what we should do is prepare the package, put it out. Clarion can reach out to their contacts, everyone can respond, but we want to make sure that however that package is prepared, nobody participates in preparing it that also can participate in responding to it. And then typically with that, you'll have an evaluation committee. That could be your advisory committee. They could be your evaluation committee, and they can bring their recommendations to this board. And you can have them work with staff. So that would, and then however you want the scope to be prepared, you can articulate if you want it broader or more defined, depending on your needs, so.
I like the idea of the advisory board being the evaluation committee to save bandwidth from the rest of the finance team.
Unless.
I have to ask, would save bandwidth, that means less
Oh,
work?
yeah, save time. Our finance department is stretched thin right now. Yeah, they're stretched thin. We don't want them.
Yeah, finance department will be involved in it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
staff responsibilities, but
something
we'd
off
be happy to incorporate the FAC into it, get their opinion and input in evaluating the proposals.
Let me, we haven't opened it up to the audience yet. I know Bruce is itching to be heard, so Bruce.
Thank you. Bruce Hadberg, 1119 Huntington Lane. Couple points. First, the investment policy was done in 2007. I understand we were in collateralized mortgage obligations back then. We certainly have a wide range. By the way, I was a vice president at Raymond James. I understand a little bit about investments and things. And yes, there are institutional investors that support municipalities. There's no need. I really want to simplify this for all of you, that it comes down to the return and the laddering the investments, the maturity dates to match when we have our projects coming up or big purchases. It's that simple. Liquidity will take care of itself. Cash flow will take care of itself if things are matched up. This thing about worrying about what the brokers are going to make, they're making basis points. They're making hundredths of a percent. For Pete's sake, they're not jacking stuff up. Plus, if you had it with a reputable one and they don't do a good job, they're gone. You'd know it. The other thing is this whole thing is predicated on increasing the returns. I'm really surprised that nobody has said anything that wouldn't you want more than a one-to-one return from what 3+1 is going to do? We can get $30,000 breathing, putting it in almost anything. I'd want at least more. Let me leave it at that. I'm not going to run the numbers or try to guess. The point is, and it's just an intermediate step, and a lot of those steps that they put up there, these algorithms, I'm sorry, not necessary. As long as it's consistent with Florida law and matches our investment policy committee, there's no magic. They're trying to make magic out of something. There's no magic here. So please, I would encourage you to not just at least table this, but even be really skeptical looking down the road. It's almost like it's a cabal of all these organizations that support the municipalities, and they're not looking outside. I mean, this can't be the only one. If they have a proprietary software or technology, guess what? So is the other. So, I mean, it's not like they're the only ones that do this, so be skeptical. And again, if you did have one that does offer the full service beyond what Stifel has done, that is a real disappointment. But yeah, they'll do that as part of it. The RFP should certainly cover it, but again, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, Josh, you good?
Yeah, so, great feedback, appreciate all the discussion. Would we then, motion to table, or what would we have to do with that?
Yeah, they could do a motion to, table is just, it's indefinite, so you can just give direction that you want to see the results of the RFP and then come back with it.
Understood?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thanks,
very much.
Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we need one member for the Personal Review Board.
Thank you, Mayor. The term of Courtney Hanna will expire this month, and she has requested reappointment. There are no alternates on this board, and this is the only position that's appointed by the City Commission as recommended by the City Manager in accordance with our city code. It is requested that the City Commission appoint one member to the Personnel Review Board.
I will move to reappoint Ms. Hannah.
We want to hear audience or
Raymond
anything?
James.
Once we get a second, I'll ask.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Now we need two members for the Public Art Committee.
So the terms of Lauren Buchanan, Jennifer Gray, and Deanne White will expire this month. The only one that has requested reappointment is Ms. Gray. She has only missed one meeting within the past 12 months. We have received 4 applications, so it is requested that we appoint 2 regular members and 1 alternate member for 2-year terms.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I don't have the latest, apparently. I have just one application from Mr. Jordan Myers. Did I miss
I saw two.
something? Is there an update?
So we have, there are 4 applications, Jordan Myers, we have Karen McKinney, who serves on LAC, and then we have, 2 artists, from PAC. I wonder if I can share my screen.
We could share that screen, or if you would like, time to, can we put that on March 3rd? If the commission would like to have time to review?
Can we put Jordan in, or we want to review all of them together?
Yeah, let's see if you could, we'll work on putting it up here at first. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Burnett, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Jennifer Gray is asked to be reappointed,
To be honest, we
So,
have 2 people.
but we need 2, right?
Well, we need 3.
Reappoint.
Yeah, so Jennifer plus 2 more.
Right, I see.
So we could do Ms. Gray and Mr. Myers and wait.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll move to appoint Jennifer Gray, reappoint Jennifer Gray.
Second.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this agenda item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Said there were 2 more applications. I don't have the applications either.
Yeah, there was one in the backup
From Jordan
from
Myers.
Jordan Myers. Yeah.
That's all I got.
So did these other applicants just come in recently?
I'm not sure when they came in, Commissioner, so, but what we could do is,
Just a second.
Rachel. Mayor, my recommendation would be, if we can, we put them, we table this to the March 3rd meeting, and we'll make sure that everybody has the applications.
Okay, let's do,
Yeah,
is
I
that
like
good?
I like it.
All right, anyone want to make that motion?
I'll move to table the 3rd appointment for the next meeting.
Second or third, you mean?
Second and third.
Unless you want to make a motion on
Mr.
Jordan
Myers.
Myers right now.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I move to table the 2nd and 3rd appointments until we can get a full list of applicants.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to commission reports, Commissioner Basur.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank the Whispering Souls Board, Jacqueline Hayes, et cetera, for inviting the commission out to the dedication of the memorial at Whispering Souls African American Cemetery, Safety Harbor's residents were buried there. They have been honored there by having that property cleared by many in the community, helping the board. It's been an endeavor that has stretched over approximately 10, 11 years for us, but for one person, Lou Claudio, it's been over 10 years that he's been interested in it, ever since he saw that there had been a baby Samuel buried there in 1896.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm having a difficult time hearing the commissioner for noise in the room.
Everyone, can you go, Bruce? Bruce, sorry, I think I think you're being a little distracting. Sorry, yeah, you're good.
Sorry, Commissioner Basur.
Okay.
I'm being, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, City Manager. But anyway, Lou Claudio took on this cemetery as a cause because he saw this little baby's grave and he realized others were buried there. And so he pushed it and then met Miss Hayes, and then she pushed it, and she's just been so vibrant that, well, Safety Harbor has been in the news as leading the effort to uncover African-American cemeteries that had disappeared through development. This one didn't disappear through development. Our Andy Zadro worked with an attorney named Herb Donica, and the deed is now in the hands of this Safety Harbor nonprofit, Whispering Souls nonprofit. So Commissioner Burnett and the mayor were also there with me, as were different officials from the county, et cetera, as well as Whispering Souls board. And it just was very moving to hear speeches and to hear songs and to hear the fact that African American and all races were involved in this effort. And there is a very beautiful memorial that you can go visit. And Mr. Donica and Mr. Zadro each were given a bench too. So there's a beautiful honorary bench where you can go and sit. And this is near Sylvan Abbey Cemetery. You take Sunset Point Road towards Sylvan, and just past it is a street. I want to call it Shore Boulevard, but my memory is escaping me. But anyway, you can look it up, Whispering Souls, and find out where to go. I want to say goodbye to Mr. Randy Bennett. The VFW offered a venue for the friends of Mr. Bennett from Harbor Renovations, for us all together to say goodbye, a celebration of life. Randy was very important to my family through my John Such, who worked for Harbor Renovations. He and Mr. Fleming were very kind to John, and they have done many renovative projects around Safety Harbor as well. Probably somebody else is going to mention Julie. Also, Julie Brannon from Bailey's did pass away. And I want to say to her family, Bailey, who had worked for us, that I'm very sorry about the loss of this very notable community member. And in closing, I also want to say thank you to Recreation, because the senior fair was just lovely over here at the community center. My sister and I collected some stress balls for Mom. We were probably supposed to just take one, but we have Be Happy, You're Strong, You Can Do It. And she looks at those overnight. She'll wake up and she'll sit there at the table and she'll read those, and sometimes she reads them to us during the day. So I'm just very appreciative that outside vendors came in, interacted with our seniors, and Harbor Dish provided food, and it was just a lovely event. So thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thanks. Just want to remind everybody that I think we have a February 24th workshop. Is it at 6 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
So I think we're going to be addressing some of the tree, lot, building issues in Safety Harbor. So hopefully we get some people from the city that show up and can hear us discuss these issues and maybe have an opportunity to be heard, but we'll see. But looking forward to that. I left the last meeting we had here, and I encountered for the first time, although I've heard other people tell me, some young local residents, juveniles, I guess you would refer to them as, on bicycles, wearing dark clothing in the middle of the street.
refusing to move onto the sidewalk and slowing not just myself, but other vehicles down. But I encountered it, I think it was 2 nights ago, encountered a very similar situation right on Main Street. And I've just had other people in the community tell me they've encountered similar situations where they must be either elementary or middle school kids, they're not high school kids, on their own bikes. And I would just ask if we could, if they're spotted on Main Street or out in the road riding around. I actually asked these kids on the way home to just get off the road because I wasn't going to hit them, but it's dark out and you can't see them. So it's just a scary situation. So be aware that there are young boys on bicycles wearing dark clothing that you can't see on the road that refuse to get out of the road. The grass is starting to look better out at the waterfront. I know they've put some fertilizer down as well. I was out there and saw that. And I think today's the last day for the tent. I know there was an email that you shared with everyone. That's the guy that owns the tent, right? Yeah. Tonight's the last night, right?
Yes, I believe the date was today, February 17th.
All right. Hope to address that as well on Monday. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burnett?
Thank you, Mayor. Yep, some of the same things. Whispering Souls, really enjoyed attending that. I was moved by so much of what everybody said. I was just there as an audience member. I wasn't involved in this like you were, but to hear the accolades that were bestowed upon all of the commission, Safety Harbor, the governments in Clearwater and Pinellas County and everything else, it was so refreshing to get that, to just witness that outpouring of appreciation for government when we have to deal with so much of the opposite. And to see current and former commissioners of Safety Harbor recognized for all of their volunteer work and involvement in getting that across the finish line just made me very proud of all of you and my predecessors here on the dais. So, and then just speaking with the race relations that are from the past and the current and the outlook towards the future that everybody was talking about there was just really inspiring. So enjoyed getting to just watch it. And Commissioner Besor, you did a great job speaking there too. So got land development workshop. I'm glad you brought it up. I had it on my list too, just to maybe offer city manager a chance to preview that for us a little bit during your report, and then talk about how we're going to get that publicized to make sure we get a good audience to weigh in on some of that, because I know a lot of these issues are top of mind with a lot of our residents. So looking forward to that one next week too. I toured Maddie Williams today. So I saw David Hale and Janet Hooper out at the Whispering Souls. They had obviously previously invited us to come take a tour, and they reminded me on Saturday. So I was able to get over there today. Construction looks fantastic. It's going to be a really nice space for our community, and I think it'll really help. The new meeting spaces will allow them to touch more families from an educational standpoint, workshop standpoint. Janet also shared some concerns with the cutoff of some federal fundings recently to there. So she's saying they're going to be probably a few $100,000 short, and she's out there. So I just share that with the community. I know we all love Maddie Williams. So if you find an opportunity to take part in one of their fundraisers, let's do what we can to try to help them get there. Next, my kudos to the leisure services as well. I attended the daddy-daughter dance for Valentine's Day with my younger daughter. I was very disappointing to my daughter for not getting anywhere close on the musical chairs, the hula hoop contest, or the limbo contest, or the best dancer, or the best dressed. So I was 0 for 5 on all of the competitions of the daddy-daughter dance.
Didn't have the toilet paper?
They didn't have toilet paper, and they didn't have long distance running or calf roping in there for me either. I might have had a chance at that, but we had a really great time, and they put on a great event as always. That's my second time. I've taken now each of my daughters once to that, and it was a lot of fun. And the dads were great. I mean, just It really was. It wasn't just a bunch of guys sitting around watching something happen. All the dads were out there dancing. They were being egged on by the hosts, and it was just a great event. The third Friday's coming up this Friday, I suppose, so hope to see everybody out there for that. And I wrote down Public Works because I've seen so much stuff coming in and out of the emails. Renee and team have been working really hard, but I think this is the first meeting I've ever been to where you didn't have to get up to the podium. So I was trying to decide if I wanted to bring something up just to make it happen for you, but take your night off. Appreciate it. All right, that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just got one item on, the rec center. I've heard some complaints about the AC unit in the big gym. Is there, is it on the list to get replaced, or is there something wrong with it?
I don't know, but I'll find out for you and see what's going on.
That's all I have.
I just want to say I was at the Whispering Souls dedication, and you did a fantastic job with your remarks.
Thanks.
Very moving, and it was good seeing you and the other officials out there, and just want to thank all the volunteers and the board that, played a part in making that a reality. I feel like something else is slipping my mind, but that's all right. Josh?
Yes, sir. A couple items. Thanks for several of you reminding the group about the Land Development Code workshop on the 24th. And when I conclude, I'll actually ask Carol just to give a little preview of that meeting on Monday. But we will ensure post it on website, share it on social medias, as well as we've already been communicating with Chamber of Commerce when Carol and/or I attend JET meetings or monthly MOSH meetings to ensure that the business community is also aware about what's going on. We're going to schedule our budget workshop, which is normally in July. My plan is to tie that in with a regular meeting that we have, which is July 21st, is a regularly scheduled city commission meeting. More to come, stay tuned, but the idea would to have that budget workshop at 6 p.m. immediately preceding the 7 p.m. regular meeting. So I'll get you that date. And then what I did want to do is I'll make sure that's all my items before I give it over to Carol. But I also wanted the opportunity to introduce Derek Reeves, who's sitting here in the front row. He's our new Assistant Community Development Director who came from the city of Pinellas Park. He was the long-range planning manager there before coming here. Before he was in Pinellas Park, he was in the city of Atlanta Beach. And he's a proud graduate of the Florida State University. So he is a Seminole. So welcome, Derek. We're glad you're here.
We won't hold that against you. Well, he may like it, but.
Carol, wouldn't mind giving a quick preview on next Monday, please.
Sure, I'd be glad to. And in addition to the chamber and local businesses, we also did discuss this with the Planning and Zoning Board. So hopefully the word is out there. We're going to focus on two significant areas: development standards. We're going to talk about alleyways. That was a request from the commission in the context of a waiver request. We'll also have a presentation by Public Works about the alleyway action plan that they prepared. We'll talk a little bit about design standards on Main Street for parking areas and parking. As we're getting infill requests, we want to make sure that we're preserving the walkability of Main Street. And then there's several amendments that go to the point that Vice Mayor mentioned about how infill residential development is impacting open space and the tree canopies. So we're going to be discussing tree protection requirements, lot coverage requirements, and setbacks in TND1 and TND2 to kind of try to understand how all of those operate together to either create or disincentivize open space and tree preservation. So that's on the list. Another thing I wanted to highlight was would like to talk about retail food establishments as an accessory use in the SC2 character district. And then also really talk more about other sort of industry developments for accessory food service. So it used to be there were food trucks and there were food trucks. And now there's all of these other types of accessory uses: outdoor bars, outdoor pizza ovens, food carts, that some of our restaurants and bars want to use that are not food trucks, and our code is silent on that. And then the other one I wanted to highlight was, we will be talking about our wet zone regulations. That's the provision that we have in association with Third Friday for being able to have open containers on Main Street. We've heard from several of our Main Street merchants that the way that it's implemented now is a little cumbersome for both them and their patrons. So we've become aware that there's a lot of examples around the state of maybe a different way to approach that as an entertainment district or specialty center that might be more flexible. So that's some of the highlights. Really look forward to talking with y'all about all of these changes.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Is that good?
Yes, sir.
Sarah?
Nothing particular, although just from the discussion tonight, I just wanted to remind everybody on the dais, I know there's one member listening, I will send an email, but if we're going to do an RFP or an RFQ for investment advisory services, we should not be in any discussion with anyone who intends to bid on that. And if you were to engage in a discussion while we're in the process or before, and you're a member of the evaluation committee or a member of the commission, you could potentially preclude that person from being eligible for submitting a proposal. As well as the advisory board committees are governed by the sunshine. They're not always fully aware of that. So they should not be having conversations about this RFP outside, because their meetings will be sunshine meetings, even if they get limited shade for sunshine. So I'll work with the manager. I'll send an email out. I'll copy all of you on it so you see what they get. But typically when something like this comes, everyone wants to talk to who they know, who's involved in it. But if they're going to respond, your best bet is to just go through the clerk, and then when Rachel has a copy of it, she can send it to them so they're aware of it, and then that way you're insulated from having any communications that could potentially prevent them from being eligible. So if there's any questions, people can always reach me directly, but I just wanted to let everyone know, be aware of that.
Good info, thank you. All right, with that, meeting's adjourned.
I was dying to ask you